Good day, everyone. This presentation is going to be in English, so in case you have any questions or I need to downshift my language a bit, tell me, I will be glad to do so. So, you already know me by now, but once again, my name is Ksenia Ryseva. I am a student of master course in Neuropsycholinguistics in the Lomonosov Moscow State University, Faculty of Psychology, and today I would like to present to you the topic of Prosaccade and Antisaccade Paradigms. So why I decided to give this presentation in English? You know that we will have to read literature, scientific papers in English, and all these terms will be in English. So it's essential for us to understand the basics of all these terms. So let's start. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, ask me right away. So, yeah. I'm going to tell about two paradigms. Basically, one is called Prosaccade paradigm, another one is Antisaccade paradigm. So, you have this handout, and there you also have to fill it in as we go throughout the presentation. I gave you some terms that are essential, so we'll need to fill them in inside. So, it's also called visually guided saccade paradigm and the centrifugal saccade paradigm. Basically, it helps us to see the reflexive eye movement to objects without explicit instructions. So they are inner. It's not like we are given instructions. We are automatically doing that. That's why it's called Prosaccade paradigm. And it is divided into two parts. First one is reflexive. Basically, we have a stimulus and there is little cognitive control. We don't control these movements. Another one is voluntary. Basically, it's cognitively driven. We might be given stimulus, we might be given instructions on what to do next. So these are two essential parts. Usually, in a Prosaccade paradigm, we are given instructions. First one is to fixate a central target. Then we have to move to the peripheral target quickly and accurately. And that accuracy and speed is what is essential in this type of paradigm. So Eugene already told us about the basic settings in this paradigm. That is the fixation cross longevity. You have the exact figures which you will need in the future, plus some target direction, left or right, up or down. Well, it's logical. Then target distance, it's measured in degrees. Target longevity, how long we fix on the target, plus inter-trial duration. So between trials we have this time and it's also measured. When we're talking about Prosaccade paradigms, you will see these three terms. First one is saccade latency, or it's also called latency of response saccade or saccadic reaction time in RT. You will meet it quite often. It's basically how quickly the participant reacted to the onset. Onset is the trigger event. So we have the central target and we have the onset trigger event, which we move on. Saccade accuracy, how close to the target the saccade length, also essential. And saccadic gain, what proportions of the distance the target was traveled. So it's more about the distance. You will see such a classic diagram. What we have here, we have space and we have time. Those are two coordinates in which we are moving. First, we have the origin, that is usually the central target. And here we have the eye movement, so this flows the direct movement. Then we are given the target. As we're given the target, the origin disappears. And that's where science starts. Fun fact is that we have this saccadic latency. It's basically the time that takes us to move our eye from the origin to the target. And the distance between the origin and the target is called saccadic amplitude and target distance as well. So it takes us some time to move the eye. It's exactly the same thing, but represented in another type of diagram. You will often meet it as well. It's basically the screen our participant is looking at. So we have this target, we have this central point where we are at the moment, and the target cell, we move our eye to there. Third type of diagram, or the so-called time plus reflexive paradigm, or order of advance, looks like that. That is the first screen, that is the second screen that our participant gets. And over time, we have to move our eye to the target. Usually, cross is the original point, and the target might be reflected in different other symbols as well. Yes, go ahead.
So
order of event. Event is a thing that happens. Order is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So order of events is first we do this, then we do that, then we go. So 1, 2, 3. Next one is task instruction. Guess what is this? Take a guess. That's an eye. Yeah, surprising is that. And this is, what do you think that is? A screen, absolutely right. So basically we are looking from the top to our participant in their eye and the way it moves. So originally it was in the middle, then moved to the top. So you might also see this type of diagrams. This Prosaccade paradigm, you can see it's pretty simple. We as scientists don't like when it's simple, we want to try something new and difficult. So that's why all these new paradigms were born. Now we're going to talk about them. We have all the schemes in the handout, so in case you want to, you can fill them in. So let's start with the first one, the temporal gap. Take a guess why it's called a temporal gap. Any ideas? Temporal gap. So we have the original paradigm. Here we have some gap. What is a gap? Like that. A fall down. Okay. Gap is a space, basically. So our participant is given a blank space during which they have nothing to look at. And it's interesting where the eye goes to. So in here we have a temporal gap between the disappearance of the central origin point and the appearance of the new peripheral target. So our participant doesn't know what to look at. In here we have released attention, or the so-called free attention. So our participant is free for all the new things that are going to come. So this is extremely important. It's going to be in the test. We're going to have a short test after this presentation. So it produces dramatic reduction in saccade latency. So basically when our eye has nothing to fixate on, it's faster in trying to see the new target. And that is called the gap effect. So the reduction in time our eye goes to the new point. So let's compare this to. Basically, this is the one we looked at with you at. We can see the saccadic latencies like that. In here, we're being added a gap. Here it goes. So origin, gap, target. So in here, we have nothing to look at. Basically, if we compare this part and give me a second, and this part, we can see that that one is shorter, meaning that when our eye is free, it's faster to go into the new target. Second one is called temporal overlap. Is when what is an overlap? What is an overlap? You don't see this slide. So what is an overlap? Is when we have something and something at the same time. So these two, there's a space in where they overlap. They are given at the same time, but then something disappears. So overlap is when two things are shown at the same time. So in temporal overlap between the central origin point and the peripheral saccade target, they are shown at the same time, but then the central disappears. And the purpose is to lock the participant's attention to the origin while the saccade to the target is being planned, programmed, and executed. Executed is before. And when we have at the same time the central origin plus the final target, at this time saccade latencies increase, meaning that it takes us longer to travel to the new distance. If in the previous one the saccade was shortened due to free attention, in here it increased. And as a result, new type of saccades was opened. They're called express saccades. They are shorter, so it takes 80 milliseconds for the eye to travel to the new origin point, while the typical is 200 milliseconds. And also, fun fact, in case this small part of brain called superior colliculus or colliculus, if we're talking about Latin of the Middle Ages, so superior colliculus is damaged. Basically, this type of saccades, they disappear. So you can see how important it is to have an integral structure of the brain for the saccades. So what it looks like. You have the origin, here it goes. Then you have this overlap. It is the time when the new target is being presented and the central one doesn't disappear yet. And in here we can see that the eye moves to the overlap faster. Here it is. This diagram shows us that. Any questions so far?
When we talk about relatives, what is making relatives? Like oily or maybe something push?
Well, we have no particular movement. Basically, in the previous ones, remember that we're doing the central target and the peripheral target. As the peripheral target appears, central disappears. Yeah. Second one, yeah, is when the first one is given, nothing, second appears. In here, we're given the first, the second, takes some time, first disappears. Anything else? Or is everything clear so far? Okay. Yeah, fun facts about this type of overlap. Basically, these ones are called rapid oculomotor responses or salience-driven saccades, or bottom-up saccades. It's essential for us to understand two terms, bottom-up and top-down. Bottom is, in this case, our inner attention. We don't control it. It's very primitive attention, like, whoa, what is there? I have to have a look at it. So it's called bottom-up. If we're talking about instruction being given to us, we first think with our brain where our eye should move. That is called top-down decisions. So top-down decisions take longer time than bottom-down or salience-driven saccades. I'm going to send you all the slides, so don't worry about that. Is that clear? That is essential to understand. That's the basics. Yes, no? Yeah. Moving on. Next paradigm, position reversal. In here, it is extremely simple, but there are difficult terms. First one is centripetal saccade paradigm. Basically, we have the first target in the periphery, and then moving to the central target. So we are moving our eyes from the periphery to the center. Centrifugal saccade paradigm is when we have central fixation point, and then we move to the periphery. And in here, there are some specific differences we need to understand. Clear so far? Yes, no? Yes, but. So if you look at the scheme, it looks like that. In the centrifugal Q, or centrifugal paradigm, we have this target in the center, then our eyes moves to the target. In centripetal Q, we have our eye in the periphery moving to the center. So it's all very simple, just depending on where our first Q was at.
How do we understand which is the target, right or left? You circle around it or?
Yeah, the circle is the eye position, so it's where our eye moves to.
So the cross is?
Yeah, the cross is the origin from which we move. So here the origin is on the periphery, then and our eye was on there.
Okay.
And then
First one, so then we move our eye right
To the right.
to the left.
Yeah.
What is the task here?
the task in here is basically this is the original position of the eye, and this blue square gives us the original position. Then our task is to move to the side, and you can see that our eye moves to the side.
Yes, but how do we select right or left side?
In here, just a scheme of what you can do. Yeah. I didn't have a look at the particular, just the basics of the theory. And then our eye moves to the center. So this round thing is where our eye moves to. Second, fourth paradigm, sudden target change, or it's also called double-step paradigm or two-step paradigm. In here, we have the saccadic control system, which reacts to only one stimulus at a time. And we move our stimulus to the side. It's called a step. Interesting to know that when we move our eye to the side, it really depends on the location. So imagine we have the central target. Then we have to move our eye to the side. Then suddenly we have to move it back to the center. So this is double-step paradigm when we give two stimulus at a time. And if the second target to which we move our eye is once again at the center, the time shortens. If it's a new location, it increases. So here's the difference, basically. We have the original target, the second target. Our eye moves to the central, to the second target. At the time it already disappears. Then we have to move our eye backwards. Here it is, to the original paradigm. So by the time our eye is in the air, it seems that the target has disappeared and our brain has made an error of moving there. So we trick our brain. In here we have the target, which is shown to the participant as they look at it, but then they have to move backwards. And we can see that the latency is different when our brain thinks that it was tricked, it made a mistake. It tries to go back as fast as it can, but in here it looks a bit longer at the target. Is everything clear so far? Yes, no? No, yes. Okay, I hope that it was. If no, tell me, I will be glad to. And we have only one last Prosaccade paradigm, so keep it up, people. We are closer to that. This one's called dynamic double-step paradigm or saccadic adaptation paradigm. In here we have the compensation. What is compensation? Compensation. Keep it. Compensation. What is compensation in Russian? Huh? To add something, to make up for something that we have lost. Компенсация. Whoa, how is that? Okay. Well, we have a compensation towards the original point, and we have no deviation from the original vector. So we're introducing a new term, which is a vector. What is it in Russian? Vector? Vector. Yes, thank you. So in here we have the origin of the eye, then we have a new target. Our eye tries to look at the new target, but then it's like, whoa, we have no target in here. It's actually in the new place. So by making our eye looking at the target, and then when it really does, the target is in another place, very close indeed, but it's a new place. Our eye thinks that it made an error, and it tries to compensate for that. If we give many stimulus like that, like our brain thinks, whoa, I overjumped or undershoot, it thinks like, well, I need to stabilize my system, and it does. So with time, when you give many tasks like that, our brain is becoming more exact at looking at the particular point. So we gradually adapt the saccadic system by over or undershooting. What is overshooting? How do you understand it? Yeah, go ahead.
Make the gaze too far from
Too far.
the point.
Yeah, absolutely right. So we look too far. And undershooting? What is undershooting? Opposite of overshooting. Whoa, surprising. Well, not looking close enough. So over is too far, under not enough. And in this target, in this type of paradigm, we can have cross-axis saccade adaptation. Basically, they're like that. So we make our eye look at this point. When it does, there is nothing, and actually the saccade is over there. So it is like that. In case there's something in your books, you will know that in here this type of paradigm is used. And we also have saccadic compression. It's the perceptual effect that the visual field appears to be compressed before and after saccade. So our brain is tricked into believing that the field is larger or smaller than it actually is. Another one is stop signal. It's the final one. Don't worry. Stop signal. In here, you might read this term as SRT. Take a guess what it means. As SRT. So we're talking about stop signal, and it's about time. Stop signal, blah, 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 time. What does R stand for? Reaction. Absolutely right. So stop signal, reaction, time. And it's being calculated by using this difficult diagram. And it's also called countermanding paradigm. So when we give our participants a task, not to look at the task, not to look at the target, what our brain will actually do. And it appears that we have an opposition of two processes. First one is called go process, like yes, do it, go ahead, look at this target. And the second one, our brain, our instruction was given to us not to look at it, so it's called stop process. And we have this opposition between stop process and go process. And this target onset, they have short time and the stop signal. So first we're given the target, then the new target appears, then we're given the instruction not to look. What will we do? And it appears that this inhibition is stopping, is successful. So if we are given the task not to look, at the same time as the new symbol arises, we don't look. Think about that. And SRT, in case you will need it in your future research, is about this number of milliseconds. What it looks like. These are 3 screens that we have. This round thing is an eye. So we have this, we're looking at the center. Then we're given a new stimulus, and at the same time we're given the task not to look. And it appears that some people who are more impulsive, they will look, so it's called a failure. And other people who have very close connection with their brain, their heart and soul, they will not look, and it's considered a success when they don't look at the new stimulus. So it's called stop signal paradigm. Manipulated central origin. It's also called the disengagement paradigm. Basically, this one is used in advertising, in education and stuff. Basically, we're given the central aim, plus we're given peripheral targets, and we can look at them. But this central target is being changed to something bright. I don't know, a flower, a bottle, a cat, whatever. And it's being studied if our brain will look at the peripheral target or if it will stay in the center. So that is our task. Any questions so far? Ask me questions because we're going to have a test on it right now. Think about that. We have 2 more slides to think about. Second paradigm is called antisaccade paradigm. So you asked today a question about antisaccade paradigm. In here we have reflexive and remote distractor and countermanding paradigm. We're given the task not to look, but we look. So when we try not to look and we perform an action of going backwards, it's called antisaccade. And this antisaccade from a distractor requires inhibition, our inner command of the brain not to look. It helps to test executive control and lesions in the prefrontal cortex. Basically, prefrontal cortex, yes, no, кора мозга. And it helps to test how well we actually perform this control. And once again, the saccade from the distractor is called antisaccade, and it requires cognitive control, while saccade to the distractor or the target is called prosaccade, and there is no cognitive control. It looks like this. We have, once again, space-time, we have the origin, and we have the new distractor. We're given the task not to look. What our brain does. First, if our brain goes, it's like a go process started. It goes to this target. This is error latency, basically the time we spent on going to this task. Then we understand that we made an error. We are taking some time to correct, and we go backwards to the correct target. In case our brain doesn't look at the distractor, we have the correct antisaccade latency. You can see that error latency is shorter than the full-time latency. And we have this difference in error amplitude. Can you see it? It's larger than the correct antisaccade amplitude. So once again, and error latency is shorter than the correct latency, and the correct antisaccade is shorter than the error antisaccade. Clear so far? Yes? Go ahead.
Not about the slide, but does this
Paradigm.
work without study? For example, when we're reading, we don't think about, oh, I needn't looking right. How it works.
Well, it's interesting. When I was preparing this presentation, I also came over a paradigm when we have no target at all. So what our brain will do when we have nothing to look at. It's called blank space paradigm. If you're interested, I can show it to you in the book. And when we are reading, in here we're just given the experimental basis of different instructions which might be given. So it's not about reading, it's more about the way our brain reacts to the new stimulus given to us, considering the instructions. Thank you. Okay, anything you want to ask me so far? No. Okay, then we're going to have a test with you. Please take your laptops or phones. You will need to access a website called kahoot.it. Second. Everyone, please join it. So what you need to do, you need to access the website. Let me show it to you. Yeah, it looks like this, kahoot.it. Did anyone play it before? How do you turn it on? Yeah. So yeah, Kahoot.it, someone knows it. Perfect. So you need to access this website called Kahoot.it or download an app. You can just open it in your browser. And you need to enter this code and enter your name. So what it is, you're going to have 10 questions and you'll need to answer them. You're going to have questions written on the slides and you're going to have 4 options for answering, or true or false. In your phone or laptop, you'll have 4 buttons, each corresponding to one of the answers. So on your phone, you'll have only answers. In here, you'll have both answers and questions. What is being counted? The correctness of the answer, the speed, and the number of answers you given correctly in a row. And we're going to have a scoreboard with everyone who participated. So please access it. I can see 4 people so far. So Kahoot.it, pin code, and name. Who is it? What a surprise. Who is it? Oh, no. Do you have some technical issues? Tell me, I'm glad to help. Okay, 7 people. I think we're around 13 here, so don't be shy. Okay, 9 so far. Questions, so don't worry. I will wait for someone else while I'm ready to start. Okay, in case there are some technical issues, we will have this pin code on the right bottom corner. It will be written in here, so you can re-access it anytime. Yeah, okay, go on. Okay, so we are starting. So the first question goes. Prosaccade paradigms are divided into reflexive and voluntary. What does reflexive mean? Reflexive, how do you understand it? Reflexive paradigm. People, speak up. Reflex, you do it from your inner will. It's not like you control it. And voluntary. Who's a volunteer? Who's this person? Someone who wants to do something, right? So voluntary, you control it, control the section. Okay, perfect. So let's see how our leaders are so far. So Dasha is leading, then goes Olichka, 2 questions, Alice and Vic. Okay, ready for the next question? Let's do it. Select correct connection. Okay, only 3 correct. Who was listening to me? Huh? Only 3 correct answers. Okay, so once again, when we have the saccade from the distractor, we remember that we're not supposed to look at it, but then we did. So this saccade is called antisaccade, and it requires cognitive control. So when we moved first, there was no cognitive control, but now we have to make ourselves look backwards. So it's called cognitive control. Okay. So Eugene, you an answer to that question. Surprise. Okay, I thought there is A. There is A. This is A. Absolutely right. That is called a reflexive paradigm because we can see, we can reflex, we can think about the way our eye moves. Space-time is like lines, task construction, specific tasks, order, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So Dasha is leading, then goes Tupac, Eugene, Glover Lou, Young, Drug something. Okay, this is A. Okay, so this is order of events, absolutely correct. I'm moving to the important ones. Yeah. So I'm sure we have short time. Yeah. Why not so fast? Okay, a dramatic reduction in saccade latency because of released attention is called. So reduction in saccade latencies because of released attention or free attention. Okay, so yeah, gap effect. Once again, here it goes, the gap effect, and we are free to do whatever we want. it increases the key latency. So our latency is being increased when we have this overlap. And final questions. Yeah, it is true. It is true because we can react only one. Okay. And it adapts. Absolutely correct. So our leaders are Vic, third place. To have second place, and the third goes to Russia. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope that was enjoyable. Yep. So here we go. The word is all yours.
Ksenia, thank you very much for this wonderful report. I hope you have another one, because it was a great pleasure to listen to you. Now we can